You're listening to the Highway of the Heart podcast, where we sit with Kim Hager, a seasoned worship leader, songwriter, teacher, and mentor. I'm your host, Jolie. Join us as we take a journey into a life of beholding, discovering the restoration of our truest worship and the unlocking of our creativity. Hello, everybody. We're back on the podcast with Miss Kim Hager.
Here I am.
Hello.
Here we are.
Good morning.
Jolie's in a good mood today.
I am in such a good mood today.
It was contagious.
Ask me why I'm in a good mood today.
Tell me, Jolie, why are you in a good mood today?
Because today I'm doing something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, which is I am going to pick up another cat.
Well,
to add to my family.
to you.
I'm not like a weird cat lady, but I rescued a cat maybe 2 years ago, and she's very sweet. She's an adult, and she lived a long, rough life on the streets. And now she's lonely. And so I looked up, she seems depressed. What's going on? Oh, she actually just wants another cat friend. Anyway, so I'm getting a kitten.
And you
excited.
Are happy. Yes.
I'm very excited about that.
Not everyone that's listening may be an animal person, but they do make life a bit better, in my opinion.
Well, they're cute and cuddly for the most part. Sometimes they bite, scratch you, but
this is only episode 2, but I think Brody's going to get mentioned again.
Oh, your dog.
Yeah. We went to the river yesterday.
Wow.
He got it's first time in the season.
Did you already say what kind of dog you have?
He's an Aussie Doodle.
Okay. I can't remember if you said that on the
Shepherd
first one.
Poodle mix.
Okay.
And
a good dog.
A good dog.
Hypoallergenic and stuff.
They say he's an Einstein, because of the breed mix, but I'm not. There are moments where I'm like, that wasn't
That's
very
probably
Einstein.
Not. Yeah, sure. No inventions yet, so holding off on the title.
But he did get to leap down the bank of the river and dive in, and he was so happy. And it's just,
Wow.
And
I went to the river this weekend as well.
You went camping?
I did.
I want to hear.
Well, I went to the Shenandoah National Park.
The river? Shenandoah River or just the mountains?
Yeah, that's right. I went to Shenandoah River State Park.
Okay.
That's something else.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Shenandoah is the mountain range, but we went to the River State Park and we camped in not directly next to the river, but we went down a trail to get to the river. And then we got in, blew up a kayak, blew up some tubes, and we floated along down.
Oh, so good. This podcast is going to be about camping and pets.
That sounds like a Kim Hager recipe for happiness.
Oh, man.
Well, actually, this podcast is going to be about a life of beholding.
Which I do when I'm camping with pets.
That's right. Yeah. I was sitting in a camp chair, a rocky one. It rocks.
Rocking is important.
It
that
rocks
helps.
at the camp chair. So I'd never seen one of those before. That was cool. And I was just rocking, looking up at the trees, looking at all the patterns.
Looking at the fractals.
Seeing them. Yep. Seeing the leaves crossing over and their patterns. And it was very life-giving.
Getting your brain healed.
Yep. I was beholding the leaves.
Yes.
And through that, beholding the Lord.
That's it. That's all we need to say.
That's what we're talking about today is a life of beholding.
Yeah.
Now, a life of beholding is a phrase that's actually in the description of this podcast.
When we do
the little intro.
We did a little focus group thing. What's that called? When we're like, what should we name this?
Yeah, you got
among the people. Among the people that have heard me teach or heard me speak or have been around me. And that was one of the things we almost named it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think that was one of the women liked that. The women
like that. And the guys like the true restoration or the restoration of true worship. So we put them in the description because we will talk about those things.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
Well, because there's Kim's really good. You're really good with phrasing, like phrases that mean something.
It's my job. I need to write songs.
So. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. And so we had a list of, we went and got coffee when we were talking about starting the podcast, and we just made a list of all these phrases of things you say or talk about that encapsulate some of your life messages. So yeah, those were two of them. So one of them was A Life of Beholding, which was almost the title of the podcast, but
it's the title of this
it's
episode.
The title of this episode. Yep.
Here we go.
A Life of Beholding. And when we were prepping for this episode, you said that you wanted to talk about this because it's kind of it's a basic concept that you need to catch before we can really go deep into talking about authentic worship.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So do you want to go ahead and jump into what that means?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So when you say A Life of Beholding, for me, I hear, I'm very logical, like I'm kind of a black and white person. So when I hear the phrase A Life of Beholding, I think either super spiritual or super poetic. Immediately, those are the first two things I think of. But then when I hear you talk about it, it's a whole world. It is a whole world of things. So help me understand that term a little bit. Take me in.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because it's possible that there are people who hear things like Life of Beholding and even just the stream of contemplative prayer and language around that, where they would maybe disqualify themselves from it because of the way that they think or the way that their personality is wired. And
like a life of sitting.
A life of sitting.
That's not what you mean.
Some people, though, I've had students go like, is that like just a life of sitting and doing nothing but staring at your Bible and closing your eyes? And that certainly is a huge aspect to it. I mean, there is a place for quieting down. We live in a world where everything is vying for our attention all the time. So we live in a busy and chaotic world. So there is that aspect of learning the skill of, I'm going to quiet down. I'm going to sit in silence. I'm going to close my eyes and take some deep breaths and think about who God is and who I am in God. I would say that is beholding, but that's not all that beholding is. Really, when I think about a life of beholding, I'm thinking about this is a disposition of living life, the way that we go about life day in and day out, where we're thinking and feeling and interacting with the world around us and with God in more of a perspective of being with God than doing for Him. So more of even in the doing, it's this disposition where we understand I'm doing with God, the person, the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Even in my work, even in my ministry, my mindset about that and my posture of my senses, all five senses, is that I am with a living and active God who's part of my everyday life.
But I like that you mentioned senses, because I feel like initially hearing the phrase or even the word beholding, it feels like I might have to shut off my senses in order to only focus on God. And I feel like that's such how do I say this? Like a do not mindset. Like
that's good.
At MAPS, we talk about our model of discipleship is not to list out the do nots, like do not do this, but instead to focus on Jesus, to behold Jesus. So the phrase initially, it is a discipleship tool. Actually, it's a discipline tool. It's a way to discipline your life with God, but discipline is such an intense word. So, I like that you mentioned the senses, because it just helps to open up the concept of what does it mean to behold. And also a life of beholding, that it's not just, a life of beholding is kind of like taking that those moments of spiritual disciplines
Mm-hmm.
and taking them out of moments and instead infusing this spiritual discipline into
Yes.
all of life,
Yeah.
with the God who's all of life.
You're doing great.
Oh,
I should interview you on
I don't think so.
building.
I
No,
don't think so,
I
but
I caught something that you said that I think is important, and I'm not going to probably grab it exactly the way you said it, but this this idea of I have to turn everything off
mhm,
in order to now engage with God.
like thoughts and
Right.
food and
Right.
exercise and, enjoyment and yeah,
So that is
sad.
not, in my opinion, that's not the way of beholding.
Mm. I think
Um,
that's so freeing. Man,
it
that's
is
so
super
freeing.
freeing. It's not me getting in a numb state of being.
Yeah, and just like laser only thinking about God, only like receiving something about God,
Right.
and anything else is not as holy. It's not that.
Right. Oh, you're onto
It's
something,
not
and I
that.
love this. It's not that. And, I don't know, there are other religions and influences where the practice of meditation is let's empty out our minds and our thoughts and our feelings. I don't know, I'm not here to talk about those practices, but it seems to me that there's almost a trying to not exist.
Like aestheticism. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, perhaps. And really, a life of beholding, I think, is getting into our emotions, all of them, the good, the bad, the pleasurable, getting into our sense of sight, taste, touch, smell, being in our bodies, which is another podcast for another time,
Some few podcasts.
being in our emotions. Those things aren't driving us on a day in and day out basis. Our spirit is, but the sweet place of the spirit of the living God being active in us and us being fully present, emotions, body, sight, taste, smell, and connecting with God in everyday life from a place of being with Him
Mm-hmm.
instead of I have to get spiritual here in order to connect with God. I have to, um, like you said, turn everything off and now I'm going to connect with God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am with God. And that's why we were laughing a little bit about it, but you rocking in your camp chair, experiencing the beauty of nature around you, the Spirit of God alive in you, and you can commune in that
Mm-hmm.
place. You can fellowship with the Holy Spirit in those places. And maybe that simplifies a little bit what a life of beholding is. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And expands it.
Yeah.
I think it takes it out of, and I am 100% like get in a prayer room or a chapel or a quiet place and open the Bible and read and write and sing and say and meditate on the word. Uh, I am 100% for that on a regular basis. And I think that will fuel having a life that can connect with God in all other
Mm-hmm.
mundane practices.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love the awakening in the body that comes with this.
Mm.
The idea of awakening your whole self to God
Mm-hmm.
and beholding Him in any moment,
Yeah.
that you can at any moment. Like the concept every moment holy is
Yes.
not it's not a thing to strive for, and if you don't hit it there's shame. It seems like the aftermath of finding freedom
Mm-hmm.
in your body and your soul
Yeah.
in order to connect with your spirit more often.
I think this is why Jesus, one of the reasons why he pointed to children and said, unless
Mm.
you become like a child, and he wasn't saying become childish in your ways, but he's like pointing to children and saying, I need you to become childlike in order to comprehend heaven. And when I think about a child, the sense of unhindered discovery
Mm-hmm.
with with all of who they are
Mm-hmm. Yep.
is not tainted by religious or worldviews yet as a child. They're just, I even can hear some of the kids out in the courtyard playing right now. And it's like,
And we will probably always hear
and we
them on
probably
this
will, which I
podcast,
hope we
by the
do,
way.
because having children in the background is awesome. But when I think about a child at play, they are just, with all that they are discovering and learning and looking and perceiving. And I think that's what Jesus was after when he was like, become like a child. There's this invitation into constant discovery, constant engagement with our whole self, constant looking and listening. And in the mundane of life, we need to remember that childlike practice of, what is God saying in this?
Mm-hmm.
That's one way that I behold is, that I will just, God, what are you saying right now in this moment through this situation or through this experience?
Mm-hmm. And there's
And let him speak and listen.
yeah, and they have kids. They've got um a consistent excitement with life,
Yes.
and joy, and a lack of fear of the future, and also a
Mm.
lack of anxiety about the present. And I feel like that's a goal for the current generation right now. Everyone's seeking
Yeah.
how do you get free from anxiety of the present and
Mm.
fear of the future,
Mm.
how do you enjoy your life?
Yeah.
And I think this is the key for all people, is to find God in all of life. And like a
Mm.
child, they find joy in everything they do, like the
Mm-hmm.
silliest stuff. And you'll see, you see, like, for example, you put a baby on the floor, you put a super colorful toy, and then you put like a
Mm-hmm.
black TV remote or like keys or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll literally go to either one. And often parents say they are more likely to go to the bland object, and they just enjoy it. Like they just
Yeah.
pick it up and play with it. And it's like with kids, they can find joy in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's part of this life of beholding, is not to seek to like try to be happy in all of life,
Yeah.
but it's that looking for God in all of life opens a door to actually be excited about everyday life, and to be present, and to enjoy things in the present that aren't even necessarily entertaining, but are just like in front of you, and that there's
Right.
actually
Yeah.
joy in these in everything, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
like a baby.
Like a baby. I think about you talking about setting that baby down and, giving them things around them for them to discover. And immediately I thought about the Garden of Eden, and Adam and Eve being put in this place of beauty, of extravagant beauty and growth and life and fellowship with God. And I think in some ways, the story there with the baby being put and things being put around them is the story of us in the garden. And what we were intended for all along was fellowship with God. And he put us in a place not just of staring at him,
Mm-hmm.
but of being with him in a
Mm-hmm.
place of beauty and discovery and co-creating. And he gave us all the I want to hit this aspect of it, is he gave us all the trees, all of the Garden of Eden. I don't know, maybe there were mountains and streams and rivers and I feel like there were like thousands of trees and plant life and all of this. And I think this is a parable for life. It really happened, but Adam and Eve are tempted to go to the one tree, that they were told, no, this is going to bring destruction. This is going to bring devastation to you. And we went for the one.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, God is like, but I've given you all of this. And so I think that there's a narrow road aspect to a life of beholding as well, where it's the stepping into the all that God has for us and choosing that rather than the one thing that, vies for our attention or
Mm-hmm.
pulls for
Distractions.
our distraction, or our, pulls on those places that haven't yet experienced being fulfilled because we haven't been in that place of communion and fellowship where we have all of the garden except for that one,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
What a concept that there could have been hundreds, even if there were just hundreds of trees
the
to
garden was
enjoy.
not boring. I think
It's not
that's
like
the
that
point
was
I'm
the
trying to
shiny
make.
thing that was the only exciting thing and everything else sucked. And they were just like, we just wanted to like
Right.
enjoy it. What a good
Right.
concept.
So I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier, is like beholding is not, I'm sitting in a dark room, there's nothing to do,
If I
I
open
have to
my
turn
eyes,
off
I
all
have
of my
failed.
senses. Right. It's there. The garden was not a boring place. The garden was not a boring place. And I think life is not boring.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard this from several leaders say, God is not boring. You are.
100%. Yeah.
The life that God has given us, even in this age where things are corrupted and there's heartache and there's sorrow and there's suffering, there is so much life to be lived.
Mm-hmm.
And there is so much of it to be lived in connection to the Holy Spirit. And the life of beholding is about knowing God. And there are disciplines that we can put in place. There are very practical things. I hear you say, about this generation is anxious, they're scared, they're fearful. The peace, true shalom, true peace is something that money could never buy. And we have it available to us. And I can tell you, the whole reason that I bought into a life of beholding is because of the fruitfulness of peace that is produced in my life. The practices that I've put in place to look at who God is and experience Him in the moments, in the mundane, and in the Bible meditation and singing of the Word, those have produced the fruit of peace in my life like nothing else. And so if you're listening and you're like, I struggle with anxiety, I struggle with depression, I struggle with fear, jump into the practices of a life of beholding. And so I can give a few of those. We've talked about one of them is the meditation on the Bible. Like that will fuel everything else. Singing the Bible, writing it, journaling it, not as a hyper spiritual practice, but as an actual conversation with a living God.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I read something, I say it back to God and I ask Him about it, or I sing it and meditate on it. And then I'm intentional about beauty. We laugh about it a little bit because it's my personality, but I'm actually very intentional about allowing beauty and creation and art to help me think about who God is and who I am in Him. And
wait, when were we laughing about that?
laughing? Well, I
You
mean,
said we laugh about it.
I think we're candid about the fact.
I could never laugh at the way that you produce beauty.
We're candid about the fact that, like, I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. I have plants in my office. I have a hammock chair. But it's not just for the beholding is
It's
not
never
just
made me
for that
laugh.
personality.
It's only just impressed me.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people maybe are more tended towards
Mm-hmm.
looking for or finding beauty. Maybe
Yeah.
it's harder for others to kind of search it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Or maybe for some people, it's harder to slow down to see the beauty.
That's probably a big reason,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Or beauty, sometimes it takes like a little bit of pain to like
Ooh,
dig through. For some
yeah.
people, they don't want to, they don't want to touch any pain, and so they don't catch it. And I think there's a lot of reasons that there's different walls in front of some people to reach that place of
And
beauty.
there certainly is beauty to be found through the processes of pain, too.
Another podcast.
is about lament.
But I did cut you off. So you're saying that it seriously is a part of your life, though.
It's a very serious part of my life.
You're intentional.
I'm very
about
intentional. And I have found a place of delight and perfect peace. The scripture says, him whose mind is stayed on the Lord will be kept in perfect peace. So if you're longing to be kept in a place of perfect peace, then there is some work to be done intentionally on our parts to steady our minds, steady our senses, keep looking at God. Behold means to look at, with the eyes of our heart, with our physical eyes, we look at creation around us and the fruit of what God is producing around us, and we see God.
Mm-hmm.
We see God in the life of a child. We see God in the answered prayer. We see God in the fractals in creation. I need to talk about fractals now. A friend introduced me to this scientific proof that there are these patterns and designs in all of creation. Some scientists call it the fingerprint of God, because every living thing has a series of patterns that will be repeated. If you look at your lungs, they kind of look like tree branches, right? The circulatory system in your body, everything that's been created has these repeating patterns, including your eyeballs, which means that when you look at them, you're beholding, you're taking it in with your eyes. Science has proven that it actually reduces stress and anxiety and depression in your brain and in your emotions when you do that.
To look at patterns in
to look
in
at the
nature.
patterns in nature with the patterns in nature that are present in your own eyes. And when I hear things like that, to me, that points to a divine creator who created us to behold beauty. It's probably one of the biggest reasons we were made. Adam woke up in the face of God. And that's what defined him. Adam and Eve, their first reality was a place of beauty and fruit and presence of God unhindered. And that's what we're made for. Everything else that pulls for our affection and our attention is that one little tree, that would pull us away from anything that would pull us away from what we're actually really made for is not worth it. And we're really made to behold extravagant beauty and for our hearts to be awakened in love and awe. And that's why when we see a double rainbow over the ocean or a sunset, something comes alive in us. That's not the end all of beholding, is not just creation, but creation points to a higher reality, which is I'm made to know a living God who's daily present and active in every part of my life, not just when I have my Bible open. Yes, have my Bible open because it's going to help me to know him at a deeper level, but he is speaking and he is moving and he is active in every part of life if we tune into it, if we orient our lives to Him
Mm.
and His presence.
And I feel like some aspect of what you're saying is the patterns, patterns in nature, patterns in creation. It reminds me of the cyclical nature of God.
Mm.
And it seems to be that God, one of the ways that God settles us, brings us peace, is settles us through cycles.
Yes.
And I think that this is a key lesson for people, is that the generation on the earth right now is looking for highs, vacation, like working to a vacation,
Right.
waiting
Yeah.
for Christmas. I mean, Christmas is fun, but, going for the high moments, even some in the church is um, looking for these encounter or experiences, even like high
Like mountaintop,
experiences.
notable, blow your mind experiences, right?
Which experiences are great, and we see that in the Bible a ton. Um, However, life is more of the mundane and the patterns, and I feel like our minds get stressed out by all the distraction and all of um, the big moments. But if you really thought about it internally, some of the times you've had the most peace and calmness was when distractions were pulled away and you were doing something patterned, cyclical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even just the fact that, like, God put Adam and Eve in a garden with a day and a night. He set it aside. He
There's a
set
rhythm
time
to
aside
life.
for
Yeah.
them. Yeah. And even rhythms of eating and drinking, and he it's like he gives boundaries that are so pleasant to be able to sit down and enjoy the patterns of everyday life. And I think that because of, social media and even the things we have access to because of wealth, there's a longing for not the patterns of life, a longing for the big moments and the adventure and all that stuff. But life can really, really be found in the simplicity, of the patterns and enjoyment of every day being alive. And, like, I feel like part of a life of beholding is that it's life, that you're alive while beholding.
Yes.
So, like, being alive while beholding God in life, and learning how to every day awaken every part of your being to God, so that you're
Well said.
alive,
Well said.
while beholding. So
yeah, learning to awaken every part of your being. How did you say that? That was so good. Do you remember?
That's how I said it.
Yeah, we live, at least in Western culture, but I think this is all of humanity, is we define ourselves and our identity so much by achievement, by progress, by accomplishment. I mean, there's probably a whole list there of how we define our worth and who we are.
Especially in a Western culture.
Especially.
I think you said that, but Western.
Yeah, especially in Western culture. But I think
modern,
it's pretty innate
modern
to humans to derive their worth from what they do or who they know, in a sort of like hierarchy,
Which is the tree of good and evil. The tree is knowledge. It's knowing
and
beyond
it brings
the present.
Destruction. It brings stress and a lack of peace.
It creates needs that you don't even have.
It creates needs that you, and once you have that need, then that needs something, and then that needs something.
A life beyond your capacity.
Way beyond your capacity.
Yep.
And the life of beholding, I said when we first started, is this disposition of being with God. And in our streams, we say this a lot: what you behold, you become. And we were just meant to be formed in the face of God. We were meant to we're meant to derive our identity from who he is and how he has created us to bear that image in the earth. So I think there's even a understanding of where is our identity coming from? Where is our sense of value and our sense of worth coming from? And if that's being fed and pulled from something other than seeing God, being with him, and letting him define us, then we're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're dying.
Yep.
But if we're living a life in which how God sees us and how we see God seeing us and enjoying us and delighting us, if we're living life out of that place, then we're truly living. We're truly alive and becoming more and more alive.
Mm-hmm. I love this conversation because it naturally leads us to rediscover worship, rediscover what it means to gaze upon God, and offer ourselves back to him after we gaze, or as we gaze. So I'm excited because I think that's going to be the next podcast that we're going into.
I've been in a place even after 20 plus years of being a worship leader, which worship is beyond the songs that we sing corporately together. It is that, but worship is more than that. I'm at a place where even after 20 years of doing that, I feel like I'm on this fresh pursuit of what does it mean to be just fully free, fully abandoned to God, no hindrances.
Mm-hmm. Totally available.
It's the response. There is within us, we have been wired with an ache to respond to something bigger and higher than us. And that's God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what worship is there is a need, we've been wired with a response, I don't want to say like mechanism within us, but something within every human heart, every soul wants to be able to be completely and totally free to respond with everything that they are to who God is. And I'm really on a fresh journey, I feel like, of discovering that in a deeper way. So I really want to take, I think, a series of podcasts and talk about what is authentic worship.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling this in our last First Friday that we had here at MAPS. And I was like, I just feel like people are coming, they're going to show up and they're at this place in their life where everything in them really wants to just totally abandon themselves without restraint to the living God.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like? What does that mean? What has to happen, for that to happen? So I really want to talk through that in the next several podcasts.
I think that'll be good because, as we mentioned before, there's a warped version of this response going on in culture, which is the desire to succeed, hit goals, affirmation. All of that is fully satisfied through worshiping the Lord in a holy and higher way.
Yeah.
Which is why we're seeking for it.
Well, we long to indulge ourselves in something.
To give yourself, like literally the grind.
Give all of yourself.
Like to get it all out there, to hit goals and accomplish all of that it's a lesser form of to fully give yourself like a purpose.
Yes,
and a purpose of
value, purpose,
achieving like
sense of
connection
meaning
with God and achieving like your whole self, putting your whole self into something, which is, you already said it, but I think it's helpful.
There's the other side to that too. It's value and purpose and sense of meaning and giving our whole self to something, which is the productivity pull on us. And then there's the pleasure side too.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're doing all of this
That's
just
right.
so we can have a week of vacation and
Yep.
totally indulge ourselves for
Yes.
a limited
Yes,
time
yes.
in pleasure. But a
Man, I
life
hope
in
we
God
get
is
Chris to talk about that,
Chris
because
is
I've
coming
learned a
next. We're
lot
gonna
from
interview.
him about that specifically, like about finding the parts of your life that you actually like truly find joy and pleasure, and you indulge yourself, not in the way that like you eat a whole piece of like a whole cake and then you feel sick afterwards, but in the way that you indulge yourself and it brings life and joy.
Here's what happens is if we starve ourselves from godly, divine pleasure, if we refuse all of the things that he's put in the Garden of Eden for our pleasure, if we refuse to be on a regular basis consuming the goodness of God, we're going to starve.
That's right.
And we're going to indulge with something.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we're made for pleasure.
Yeah.
We're made for joy. We're made for extravagant expression and response to beauty. Yeah. It's who we're meant to be.
But most unfortunately, many people in churches across the world, they don't know that. They don't even know what that they're allowed to find pleasure in God. So they got to learn. They got to be taught. So we got to talk about it.
We've got to talk about it.
Podcast.
So let's do it over the next few podcasts. We'll do an authentic worship series.
I'm excited about that. In the meantime, for anyone who's listening, Kim wrote a song called Perfect Peace that it's released under Maps Global Music. You can find that on Spotify and Apple Music, and I think it's on YouTube too. Yes. It's called Perfect Peace, and Kim did not ask me to share the song, but I've just been thinking about it as we talk, because she wrote it, I'm assuming. You actually didn't tell me why, but I can tell by listening that she wrote it from a place of finding out some of these things that she's just shared the past 40 minutes.
I was in search of it and was finding it out.
Yeah, so go listen to that song and just like turn it on while you're driving in the car or taking a shower or something, because it can be hard to sit down and try to get away from your phone, get away from distractions. Maybe you've got a bunch of kids or working multiple jobs. You know, there's so many reasons why it's hard to sit down, and this song could be helpful to just sit down and let it wash over you, to find some joy in sitting down and starting to open up your heart to God.
Good.
Yeah. So go check out Perfect Peace. It's going to be under Maps Global Music. Yeah. And that's it for this podcast.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll do more on A Life of Beholding. I'm sure we'll do more on True Worship. We're going to see you next time. I'll be with Chris Carter, and we're going to dive into authentic worship.
See ya.
I'm so glad you could be with us today. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can find my blog, music, and more at kimhager.net.